good, dude.
Okay.
And the best way to share it with people.
2415, you got George's experience. Take one.
As a good friend of mine, Peter Greenlaw, just introduced me, he had led in with, I would share my experience. Well, my experience was, I think he was kind when he said that I was skeptical. I was judgmental, skeptical, and honestly had no interest in any of the products at all. What I ended up doing was attending one of his forums, which is actually a great way to share this message with other people that might be interested. Because the forum is a comprehensive approach where either Peter's the speaker or someone else is, and talks to you about all the factors in our world that no matter what you try to do, you can't bury your head in the sand and pretend that you don't drink water, breathe air, touch chemicals, ingest things through our food. And that was really what piqued my interest. I thought about what I had pretended not to know for so long, which basically is what we read in the papers and we see on the news. It was so overwhelming to me. I was like, I do my best. I've been a college athlete. I eat pretty well. What can I possibly do to mitigate all these circumstances that I have no control over? Well, when I listened to Peter's lecture, I came up with two things personally. One was, if I could eliminate what was already in me that was toxic, which in that point when he spoke to me, I had had 2 foot surgeries, bone graft surgeries, which involved a lot of pharmaceuticals that stay in your body. I was educated to find out they don't necessarily disappear through your release processes. What ends up happening is they store in their fat cells, sometimes the liver, kidney, things like that. So what I heard was that I needed to eliminate what was already there, and then the second part was I needed to do the best I could to mitigate what I was actually putting in my body that was already chemical. So I began to eat healthier. I began to look at labels, do things like that. But the most important thing I did was Peter gave me the shakes, and as he said earlier, I started doing a shake a day. Now, a shake a day, at that time, I had sort of, for me, ballooned up to 208 pounds. I sit here today at 163 pounds. Now, what's the difference? The difference simply is a lot of the chemicals I was eating, of course, the surgeries, I was a little inactive, but I began to ingest the shakes, and I began to prepare my body in a way that I started to see the results. The weight slowly came off, which I'll admit was important to me, not only from a health standpoint, but ultimately a vanity standpoint. I wanted to fit better in my clothes and things like that. And I started seeing such good results that I approached Peter and said, what about this deep cleanse? I got to tell you, I was a little scared. Some of you have just completed it. I was a little scared that I wouldn't have the commitment and stamina to stay with it, especially when there was a portion that didn't involve a knife and fork. Well, with the coaching, I was able to get through it. I was one of those caffeine addicts that it was very difficult for me to let the caffeine go. But ultimately, I looked at what I had done to my body, ingested and put in it. Not so much to be at war with my body, but really just ignorance. And to be able to get those things out of my body through a deep cleanse was attractive to me. So what ended up happening is I did lose 12 pounds. And the average that Isagenix has is 8 to 12 pounds in that 9 days. I lost 12 and I was pretty ecstatic. So then from now on, and that was about in 2005 or 6, we're now in, when you watch this video, going into 2012 in about 6 months. You know, 2011, August, and when this video was shot. I want to make sure that I date that because it's been that many years that I've stuck with the protocol that Peter has talked about, which is I do a shake a day. I do take the Ageless Essentials. I do take product B now, which is a new product out. And I do also take the accelerators daily. And once a month, because I travel to China, I travel to international different countries, and I'm exposed to foods and different standards and how they handle and how they manufacture and how they check up on their foods. I do a deep cleanse once a month, and I've been able to maintain my high school weight. So from that standpoint, that's a personal story about what my experience has been. You may have a very different experience. You may have had things that are, you know, what you would consider more aggressive results than I had or less. It doesn't really matter. The overall philosophy is this. You're either taking a step forward or a step back. And the reality is any pendulum that swings one way will return with that same force the other way sooner or later. So what we try to do is get you to take a new step every day into integrating more health and wellness, not some pendulum shift where the inevitable yo-yo effect or the rubber band effect takes you right back to where you began. And then not only have your results been mitigated, but your attitude and your energy and your mindset about ever trying it again is, it was too difficult and it didn't work, why start? So you're already at the starting point. You're beyond the gate. So I encourage you now to continue, as Peter said, utilizing the products. The final thing that I want to talk to you about is what Peter also introduced me. He said I would speak to you a little bit about referrals. Well, referrals kind of is a dirty word sometimes, because here's the reality. When I took the products, the last thing that I was ever going to do, honestly, was refer them to people where I would come across as some sort of a slimy salesperson that was trying to make money off my friends and family. So the reality is, what happened was people started to notice the change. They were coming to me, and I was not equipped in what to do once they started saying, my God, George, I mean, have you lost like 30 pounds? My God, George, I haven't seen you look this good for a long time. What are you doing? And I think, based on a point of view, that I actually think that if something's working or there's something advantageous and beneficial, to not share it with friends, family, and people in the world is really a selfish thing. So I started to look at how could I share it personally, with integrity, not look to make a buck necessarily, but how could I share it and surround myself with a circle of influence and support in my own life, including the people in my own family that I know had some challenges with their health, with their wellness, and with their commitment to their own health goals. So the reality that I did was I basically, number one, I walked the walk. I made sure that I was actually doing what I was talking about. And then what I did is I utilized Peter Greenlaw, I utilized those forums, I utilized people that knew more about why the products worked than me, and I basically referred people to a higher authority in terms of competency and resources to explain the cleanse that I had did. Okay. Semantics 101.
It's great.
So what I did was I ended up referring people to a higher authority or someone with higher competency, either in a forum or a phone call or one-on-one, that they were able to listen to someone who knew really why the cleanse worked, who knew the mechanics of what I had done. All I did was have a great result, and I kept it simple. I said, it worked for me. I don't understand all the dynamics, but here's a link, or here's a phone call, or let me three-way a friend in, or would you join me coming to this presentation, the same one that I went to, and find out a little bit about the global situation we find ourselves in and how it affects our body, and why toxins are a major part of our unhealthiness and also the obesity epidemic in this country, because that's what turned me on. So I encourage you to connect to what the real cause is with you, and also find a legitimate way that is professional, that's respectful, and that is informational, where people can find out the information and you don't need to go out on a limb and pretend to be an expert about it, because frankly you're probably not, just like me. And so that's a way to get referrals. And what ends up happening is the company rewards you with a Visa debit card, and you end up being able to charge anything you want on that card as you get referral fees or commissions. You may not say that you officially are Isagenix employed because you're an independent distributor, but the reality is you now start to get your products for free, or you offset the cost. And for some people, I'll be real honest, Isagenix has made over 56 millionaires. People that just done what Peter Greenlaw, who actually is an Isagenix millionaire, who basically has told one person, told another person, and another person, from a mindset that it would be remiss for him not to share the incredible results he had, an invitation that it could be the same for someone else. And what reinforces the reason to refer people is when you have people like your mother, your brother, your sister, co-workers, friends, children, people around you that reflect back to you. You know, George, or you know, Peter, or whoever your name is, thank you for taking the time, breaking through my skepticism and my resistance, and reaching out and inviting me to try these products. And here's the best part, and I believe this or I wouldn't be on this video. It's a money-back guarantee. If they use the products, they don't get a result that they're happy with. Isagenix for 8.5 years has stood by